On Central News tonight, we meet local twin brothers, Zach and Josh Lyon, who are dedicating 3 years to crossing the world's 4 largest ice caps. The first doctor in opera for the Waikato University. And what will Tauronga's new housing accord mean for the RMA? Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Monday the 20th of October. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Twin brothers Zach and Josh Lyon are dedicating 3 years to crossing the world's 4 largest ice caps. They've just completed the first leg, Greenland, so I spoke to them about the experience.
I personally found it a lot easier than it was physically, and that's, I guess, down to our training and our preparation earlier. But it was magical experience, and it's hard to put into words, really.
You said it was easier than you expected?
Maybe not quite as strong in the park. It was still tough, don't get me wrong, but I worked up in my head of how hard it was going to be, and it wasn't quite as hard, so which is good. But I'm sure the other 3 caps will test me.
Speaking of, what was the worst part?
The last one is the North Pole, and it's going to be probably the hardest for us, just because it's a moving ocean all the time. But by then we hope to hopefully have a bit more skill and experience, which will make it a bit easier for us to do it. Yeah.
What was the weather like?
Yes, I kind of did what Zach did and kind of built up all I'd see as a whiteout, which it was for most of the trip. But we were rewarded at the start with some bluebird skies, and at the end as well, which was good.
And would you continue to walk when it's really windy outside?
Yes, there was only one day where we didn't walk, and that was when it was 100 km/h winds and visibility down to two meters, 2 to 3 meters. So yeah, you can't walk in that. But every other day we got out of our tent, regardless of how windy it was.
It was.
Walked, so
it's all the same.
You have to get across, and it's no point in your tent waiting. So yeah, get amongst it.
So you spent a whole day inside that tent with it right out inside. What's going through your mind?
It was cozy. For the first sort of 2-3 hours, we were worried about our tent not actually staying where it was. We had a small rip in it, so we were worried about it getting a little bit bigger. But after the first couple of hours, it wasn't going anywhere, and we checked on it midway through the day. But yeah, then it was just cozy. We slept most of the day, snuggled up in our sleeping bags, and refueled and rested really for the next sort of push to the end.
You weren't scared at all?
No, not really. It was really exciting. To look out the window or look out the door, and it was by far the worst weather I've ever been in, and to be sort of really quite snug in a tent, it's a different feeling, but it was exciting more than anything.
How many kilometres are you walking each day?
They're varied by how much time we put in a day. So at the start we're walking in probably about 8 hours, and then at the end when we're pushing to finish we're walking, or I should say skiing, about 11 hours. So anywhere between 12 was one of our worst days, which was with very deep snow, and then I think one of our best days was 38 k's, so quite happy with stuff like that, but I think on average around 30, 32.
And the scenery must have been quite spectacular, surely.
It was. It's all the same, but in saying that, it's different every step. The wind changes, the light changes, the snow conditions change, and it's a dynamic sort of environment. And then, like Josh said, we had some bad weather where for 6 days all we saw was white. So there was no contrast, it was just white. And then about 6 o'clock one afternoon, the heavens opened, I guess, and then the sun came up, and then we had a big sort of sun halo, and then when it set we had 3 suns. It was something magical, really, really magical. The sunsets were spectacular, and the sunrises were just nowhere else, I guess, on the earth you'd get it. It was really special.
I understand you had to take precautions against polar bears?
Yes, before we left to go into the ice, we actually got a message to say there was a polar bear in like a 5 kilometre radius of where we're going to start. So we had to kind of, I suppose, watch out for him. So basically we kind of slept with our tents in a circle, and we layered our sleds around in a circle as well, so hopefully we'd hear it going through the sleds before it came to our tents. And our final precaution would have been we had a shotgun with the group. So if worst came to worst and we couldn't scare it away with a flare, we have to, you do the deed. But luckily and unluckily, we didn't see one. I would like to see a polar bear, but yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to come across one either.
And you stumbled across a Cold War relic. It was an old radar station. That must have been spooky.
That's something you see at the movies, a horror movie actually, like Alien out of Antarctica. But it was really cool to find something in an environment like that, and it's man-made. It's the first thing we've seen in 20 days, 20 days of man-made things. And then we went inside, we had a bit of a tiki tour, spent 2 hours inside just walking through, and it's as if they got up and left. So they've left their food, left tents, chairs, blankets, mattresses, everything's been left there. Now, of course, it's been raided in the last 25 years, so a bit of stuff's been destroyed, which is sad, a bit of stuff's been vandalised, but it's still an amazing sort of thing, and yeah, it's incredible.
It's been abandoned for years, and you've been walking and not seen any man-made structure. To come across that must have been quite almost eerie.
This thing sticking out of the landscape. Yeah, very odd, but different experience really.
It took you 27 days to complete the crossing. Are you guys happy with the result and how long it took you?
Yep, we kind of planned for 25, so we had a couple of days extra food because we do obviously take into account weather days. Apparently, according to the guide, it was one of the longest and I suppose toughest ones he's guided across during the fall season. So kind of made us, we're glad we were on that one because it will give us a bit more experience than if it was easy. So yeah, very happy I suppose with the 27 days.
Weather-wise, he said it was one of the worst. Why was that?
Pretty much, yeah. I was saying we had 6 days of whiteout at the start there, and it was continually snowing, so we had like half a metre of snow. So yeah, just the weather was not really playing ball. But other than that, most of us, to the T ready in a normal expedition for them.
I have to ask, how do you walk through half a metre of snow?
It's easier on skis, much easier on skis. You're not sinking half a metre, you're sinking maybe 30 centimetres. So it's still pretty tough. So the first person, we walk in a line, the first person's the trailblazer, and they make the big sort of track for everyone to follow, and then it's everyone's job thereafter to stomp out that track and make it as nice as possible for the last person. Then after half an hour, we switch positions, front guy goes to the back, has a rest. So we've got this big sort of routine that we go through to make it easier on everybody, but it's still fairly tough. It's sweating material.
What was the biggest challenge?
Not enough food. Yeah, we were hungry all the time. And yeah, I don't know, we probably didn't get as much food as we needed. We lost a bit of weight, but I think, and thinking about food, we probably thought about food 80-90% of the time. And so yeah, we just kind of, I suppose, thought about what we're going to eat when we get home as well. So it was a bit of a challenge knowing you have to wait another 20 days or so to eat it.
So you weren't wanting to come home and make whale blubber hamburgers?
No, not at all. Some good old Kiwi fish and chips I was really craving for a couple of days actually. Yeah.
For more information or to find out how to donate, go to 4caps.kiwi or follow the boys on Facebook. Just search 4Caps Expedition. Coming up next, a doctor of opera. Welcome back to Central News. 3 years of hard work and determination has finally paid off for New Zealand opera singer Beverly Pullon, who graduates this month with a Doctor of Musical Arts, the first Waikato graduate to do so. She is also the only second graduate in New Zealand to gain this qualification and spoke to Anne-Marie recently about the journey.
Well, the journey is always long anyhow when you're doing a doctorate, but my journey had lots more hills and challenges maybe than other people, but anyhow I had quite a few challenges. I had only 4 months into my doctorate, my research, when suddenly I fell ill. I was in hospital for a couple of months, I had a lot of surgery, I had to take time off. So I took the time off about a year and then I came back again, but it was a little too soon because I still had a lot of pain and I didn't support my voice properly, and then I got vocal nodules, which is another challenge. But anyhow, I overcame these challenges and I still managed to complete it. And of course, I was doing so much performing because there's two sides to this doctorate. You've got to do your performance, about 7 hours of assessed musical performances, plus your doctorate, your thesis. So I was doing so much performing, because you know that's what I love, that I was forgetting to write the thesis. So then I had to take 6 months off of singing to write my thesis, and I had it all there and I'd done a lot on it, and it just all came together, and so I finished it. And so it you know, was a little bit challenging at the time.
Well, you've accomplished it, which is just such a fantastic achievement. Tell me about that doctoral research that combined scientific measurement with practical opera.
Well, I was always interested in how the voice worked and what went on when you sang, and how come some people can sing high and some people can sing low, and some people have large vocal ranges and others have small. And so I thought, right, so what is it? So I was at this singing workshop, and we were looking at our necks, and the professor was going around the room feeling everybody's thyroid and cricoid cartilages and the space in between called the cricothyroid space. And he said, boy, you've got a small cricothyroid space. And I went, what does that mean? What's the significance? And he goes, well, I don't really know. So I went home and thought, I'm going to do some research. So I did all this research, and I came across this article by Ingo Titze, who's a professor of voice and speech in America, very distinguished. He does all this research, and he said it was in this article called 5 Ingredients of a Gifted Singer. And one of them was a wider cricothyroid space could make the difference between a small range and a large vocal range. And I thought, so I thought, this is a good topic. So I went on to do further research about whether the cricothyroid space was actually a limiting factor in singers getting a large vocal range, or how high they could sing.
So you're actually a haematology scientist as your day job. Do you believe that that job had an influence on the perhaps choice of research?
Definitely, because when I get blood samples, I get a whole lot of figures and values of all these analytes that I'm testing, and then I look at them all and work out what's wrong with someone. So for me to do a doctorate, I had to do something that had figures and something like that, so that I could put them all together and then work it out. So definitely.
Tell me about the practical aspects of your research. How did you manage to measure the space? So I'm assuming it's not a tape measure down the throat.
No. So I used ultrasound.
Okay.
There had been studies done before that had shown that the ultrasound was a safe way to measure the space, and the space could actually be measured by ultrasound. And a lot of people were doing changes in the space when somebody was singing an interval, and they'd measure the distance between how much it closed. And it was shown that the cricothyroid space decreases when you sing higher, and it opens when you sing lower. So we knew that we could easily measure it.
What were the main findings of your research?
Okay, the main findings was that mezzo-sopranos have a significantly larger cricothyroid space than sopranos.
And how is that going to be of benefit to opera singers?
Well, but you see, the next thing you've got to say is that it didn't make any difference to their vocal range. At this point, you can't seem to say that the cricothyroid space is going to make a difference in your vocal range, which is what I was actually looking for. So the difference it's going to make to opera singers is that you are not limited by your anatomy, what you're born with. There are ways that you can sing higher without closing the cricothyroid space. Technique, and that is, it's been scientifically proven that singers do use different ways of singing higher and singing than closing the cricothyroid space. It's a very complex array of all these muscles that work together to actually get you to sing. And so, you're not limited by that. You can have ways around it.
Tell me about your supervisors and mentors during your research.
Well, my main supervisor was Professor Mark Stringer, and he was from Otago, from the medical school down there. He was an anatomy expert, because they didn't have anyone around here in the Waikato University that had that expertise.
Yeah.
So he was he was wonderful. We met once. We did everything else by email and phone. And then I had Associate Professor Martin Lodge, who's here, who's head of music department here, who does composition. And then, of course, my last supervisor was Dame Malvina Major, who organised my program of what I had to sing and do everything, because half the component is singing. So we had to work out appropriate pieces and operas and things for me to do.
That must have been amazing to work with somebody of her calibre.
It was awesome.
Now, you've mentioned some challenges, but I'm sure there were some highlights for you as well, or you probably wouldn't have kept going.
Highlights? Yeah, I've been trying to think of these highlights. Well, the highlights are, this is an awesome venue to sing in, and we have so many concerts that are available for us to sing in. Every week we have concerts somewhere that we can perform in. So we had so many performance opportunities, and I just enjoyed all the singing that I could do. I mean, okay, that's a highlight. And then again, last couple of weeks ago, I was awarded, I had a lot of the university blues awards, but last week I was awarded a special one called Service to the University, because this year, as well as doing everything else, I have been doing a lot of service. I've been organising a lot of concerts, and I've been taking students to various concerts, and I've been organising a lot of things for the music department, especially our Friday performance hour and things like that. And so that was a real highlight, getting that award on my last year when I'm finishing.
Absolutely. What do you plan to do now? You've finished your research, you've graduated with a doctorate of musical arts. Now what?
Well, I've got lots of plans,
Yeah.
but I'm going to take a rest. I'm a bit worn out at the moment, so I'm going to have a couple of months off, and then I'm going to rethink my goals and set them clearly. At the moment, they're all just little ideas in my head, and I'm not certain which way I'm going to go or what I'm going to do yet. I mean, I'm still going to continue my work at the Waikato Hospital I'm only part-time, and I'm going to continue part-time. And I don't know what else I'm going to do. I want to organise a little group of performers to opera and take them around to rest homes and to people who can't get out to see, who are housebound.
What a beautiful idea.
Because at the moment I've started taking, every week we go to Tamaheri Rest Home and take performers there, and that's been really great. And so just to do something like that, and then maybe do some more teaching.
The world is your oyster,
I don't know.
Beverly, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Just ahead, the new housing call for Tauranga. What will it mean for the RMA? And your weather for Tuesday. Welcome back to Central News. In response to the housing crisis of Auckland and what some say will spread to Tauranga, the government brought in a new housing accord. I spoke with Mayor Stuart Crosby about the new agreement and what the aim is.
We signed that off in August with the Minister, then Minister Smith. And so really there are two components. One is the accord itself, which sets out targets for new houses or sections to be provided. And then we use the accord on a case-by-case basis in terms of various properties around our city. So it's a two-step process. So we've done step one, now we're moving into step two.
What power does this give central and local government that it didn't already have?
Essentially it fast tracks the process. So unfortunately people's rights are reduced in terms of appeal, but in our case we make sure we still consult, and we're starting that phase now with two particular sites. Consultation stage, then we'll make a decision. People can come along and talk to us about the good, the bad and the indifferent about the proposal, and then we'll make a decision. But it certainly does speed up the actual time frame as opposed to going through the normal resource management process.
How long would those processes take in the past, and how long are they going to take now?
Well, a traditional one through an RMA process, if it was notified, which means the public had a say, that could take up to 3 months to go through that process, hold a hearing, then it could be appealed, and that could take up to 2 to 3 years. So worst case scenario, a decision could be held up for 3 years plus. Under this process, it'll happen in a matter of months. So quite a significant change in terms of timeframes.
Do you think that speeding up the time may increase the risk?
There is risk. So what we've done is we've gone through the whole city and we've identified approximately 20 sites that could, and I mean could, form part of the accord and take the next step. And we put those sites through quite a robust filtering process in terms of, is the infrastructure available, are there flooding issues, geotech issues, the usual stuff we would do anyway before we even considered putting it through the next step. And so currently we're doing 2 groups of about 8 to 10, and we're into the first group at the moment, and the first 2 sites are going out for consultation as we speak.
You said there are a couple of areas that have been identified as special housing areas. Where are those around the city?
In our city, they go from Bethlehem into the Tauranga city, into Mount Maunganui and Papamara, so it's right across the whole city, from sites as small as half a hectare right up to 40 plus hectares.
What makes these areas a special housing area, and what are the requirements?
That's a good question. We're using the legislation to really tidy up challenging areas that through a normal process would take forever for something to happen on. All bar one of them are in existing residential areas, so people shouldn't be surprised if houses are going to pop up next to them. One of them is a mixture of residential and rural residential, so it's slightly different. But by and large, we're just using it to utilise redundant sites around our city that have had particular barriers in the way for whatever reason, and just to fast track it through to see if there is development opportunity there.
Will the council enforce affordable housing, like 1 to 2 bedroom houses, on these special housing areas?
We're the first council to also have our own local policy attached to a housing accord, and within that our own policy we've indicated a couple of issues. One, we would like a degree of affordable housing to be constructed within the accords. Now that's not in the main legislation, it's just in our own local one. And also to have a broader mix of housing, because what we do know in Tauranga that our current housing stock is not appropriate for our future demographic. We need a lot more smaller homes, 1 and 2 bedroom homes, and I'm delighted to see that our very first housing accord that's out for consultation now is 1 and 2 bedroom dwellings. So it's really fantastic that the development community have seen there's a market there as well.
To find out more information about the Tauranga Housing Accord, visit tauranga.gov.nz. The weather for Tuesday now. Looking at Tuesday's marine forecast. That is Central News for this Monday. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can via Facebook, centralnews.tv, or email us news@tvcentral.co.nz and let us know about an issue you would like addressed in your community. Tomorrow night, Hamilton Mayor Julie Hardacre attempts to put elderly residents' minds at ease over the sale of pensioner housing, a celebration day against bullying, and the Cambridge Expressway. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.